Get your tickets now, you filthy motherfuckers.
Really, everyone just being on the same page because we know these guys are going to come a lot. I mean, there's but I mean, we have to be on key with our hots. We got to be on key with our protection. So, damn it.
You so freaking bad. Wrestle me.
Welcome everybody to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 240. Way of the Warrior.
Oh, welcome back, you sick motherfucking boils and ghouls. Juice is in the house, Sreten somewhat, making an appearance some way, sometime, somehow, somewhere. And
Sexy Savage
up in this motherfucker too. And we got a very special guest. Anyways,
with us is the motherfucking digital wizard behind Warrior Wrestling, the fucking supreme ruler of videography and social media behind Warrior Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Henry Jasper.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Whatever you just did, I need you to follow me around in person, and right before I walk in a room, just announce me that way. There's a trumpet. I don't know, death metal trumpets. We'll do that.
Yes.
So, yeah. Anyways,
there are.
Happy to be here. Thank you, Juice. Steve does send his love. He told me to tell you guys that. He's sorry. Schedule's just couldn't work out, but he does love you.
I miss him.
Oh, good.
I miss
Congrats to Steve. We fucking love him too. He's a family man now, you know, much mad respect for that.
Congrats.
So, I'll send him a text, talk some shit later.
You should.
This is what I want to get down to, the fucking ultra skinny of what you guys have coming up. Warrior Wrestling's been around for a while now. You guys are fresh off the heels of another good show in fucking South Bend. And now you're starting to venture into the visual audio domain with podcasting. Right? The Warrior Wrestling official fucking podcast is going to be you and Steve, the man himself. What are you guys going to be fucking talking about? And how deep are you going to go into like keeping it 100? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we keep our show as positive as it can be, right? But there's times where if there's shit that bothers us, because there's a lot of fucking smart marks, you know, there's just a lot of fucking idiots in the IWC, like
tons.
You guys gonna fucking address any of that stuff that bothers you and any of that shit? Like what's gonna happen?
Absolutely. So here's the idea behind it. Is there gonna be Warrior Wrestling talent on the show talking about different subjects? Yes, absolutely. We're gonna do interviews. We're bringing everybody on. Okay. There's also gonna be team members from Warrior, guys like Steve or Eric or me or Rich Bocchini or Val Capone, and we're all gonna kind of cycle in and out with me and Steve as the core and just have different voices of Warrior talking about behind the scenes stories, maybe breaking down matches or cards and maybe some of the things that got changed and why they got changed and all that kind of behind the scenes stuff. But we are gonna just do episodes where it's me and Steve taking 20 minutes to address cancel culture in indie wrestling, or what's broke right now about indie wrestling, or what can Warrior do better, right? And or things like that. Just we're doing an episode coming up. We're gonna record. We're doing batches so that way I can get ahead of stuff. But we're gonna do an episode where it's like, what's the most annoying thing about booking a show when it comes to talent, when it comes to guys like me, production people, and then what about fans? You know what I mean? Like, how do you be a good wrestling fan right now? Like all of these kinds of things all mesh together. We're gonna throw a lot at the wall. We're gonna see what sticks, and whatever the fans give us the feedback that they like best, we're probably gonna lean into playing the hits. But I mean, that's how we're starting, and that's the plan. So I'm excited about it. It's fun.
I think it's cool, and it really gives an opportunity because I've been saying this ever since we started the show, and I'm a firm believer in like wrestling's worst enemy and greatest friend is, the fans, the fan base. And, as the 4 or 5 years now that we've been doing this, and you see like certain honeymoons that, kind of eclipse and they're over now, whether it's indie wrestling or a new startup promotion like AEW, whatever, you start to see people become really bitter, like hard for them to enjoy shit when it's fucking good. Like just sit back and enjoy it, or fucking, get a bunch of money and try to fucking do it yourself if you think you're so fucking fantastic at it,
Or give some money to Warrior Wrestling. If you like flippy stuff, you can sponsor a match of flippy stuff. If you like Trevor versus Sky and Sky beating his ass, then we'll give you that. I mean, like, just put your money where your mouth is then, or tweet about it, I guess. I mean,
yeah, because I think it's cool to be behind the scenes and see, for you guys to address to your audience, to see like kind of address how you guys feel about maybe certain responses to things that, because like Steve and Eric are like some of the most positive motherfuckers I've ever met in my life, dude. Like super cool fucking cats too, but I would like to see like how do they handle seeing the stuff? It's like a rock star reading his own publicity, like, well, that album sucked or this and that, how does that make them feel? How does it keep him going and motivate him, and you guys as a crew to like want to keep doing stuff when there's a lot of negative people out there who I saw something today and it seemed like motherfuckers just will shit on something just to do it, just to, be pretentious keyboard motherfuckers and have something to say, it's like,
but they'll spend money on watching it.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me. It's weird as fuck to me.
Or they'll just steal it. You know what I mean? Like they won't actually pay for the stream. They'll steal it. So
steal the stream to hate on it.
Yep. Yeah. Put some clips up on YouTube of them reviewing the show. Doesn't make any sense.
Yep. Take shit out of context, put it up there, make it true.
So we're absolutely not afraid to give our honest opinion about stuff. Like, you ready for this? Are you ready? Yes. I might get heat from somebody on this show because I don't know what I'm walking into. It's gonna be great. We were talking about our like Steve has a philosophy about talent that comes from baseball about I think he calls them his 5 whatever. There's 5 qualities. He calls them something. I forget what he calls it. But he kind of runs down all you got to be able to talk. You got to be able to work. You got to be able to move your body correctly for who you are. Like a Beast Man doesn't move like a Trey Miguel, but they're both great in ring. So like, he broke all that down and then he goes, who do you think has all 5 of these things? And I was like, Frank the fucking Clown. And then of course his face dropped and he did the whole thing. And then he brought up CM Punk and I said, I don't get it. I don't get what any of you guys like about him. I've never gotten it. Yes, I've seen the ROH stuff. Cool, he did a pipe bomb. I don't get it. And with you. So like, I'm not afraid as a Chicago guy from a Chicago promotion to be like, I don't get CM Punk. Maybe he's for somebody else, but he's not for me. But that's, so just to address that, like, we're not scared. I got Steve to talk about why he doesn't like booking women because half of the internet likes to say we don't like booking women, which is just ridiculous. I don't know. Yeah. We're talking about everything. We're not shying away from anything. So
awesome. That's good because earlier today, Bodi sent me a thing, and there's this guy on Facebook, and I Steve's not here, but I'm sure he'll watch and listen to this. And I just kind of like like something on this, like your guys' like stance on this, because you guys are always for the most part completely very positive, even when someone's just chucking fucking bricks at you guys for unwarranted reasons. But this guy on Facebook asked, or he didn't ask, but he just said he's surprised that you guys haven't stripped Athena. And then you got Windy City Indies. Never heard of this, but whatever. And he starts running his mouth saying, well, none of their champions ever lose the belt in the ring. It's a common theme. They're a bunch of goofballs and all this shit. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, where do people come up with this shit? Like, once again, get some fucking money, right. Run your own shit,
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. So
go ahead.
You're right. Steve is so number one, as a social media manager, for anybody listening who doesn't realize that there's a live human being behind every Twitter handle, well, behind brands' Twitter handles.
They asked Tony Khan to get a different story.
but like when you tweet at Warrior, 9 times out of 10, this is the face behind. I want you to see my goddamn face. Okay. I have feelings about this thing that I love called Warrior Wrestling that I've helped build for years now.
Yeah.
You're not ruining my day, but I have to read the comments. Steve and Eric don't have to read the comments, but there are times where like Steve in particular, or like Tiffany, another member of the team that runs front end, freaking love her. She's great. If somebody's getting a little too like, what about the women? What about this? What about that? They'll jump in, pull them offline, and they'll email them, they'll message them, they'll hold conversations trying to explain where we're coming from. Because we try to keep it positive in the comment section. The two things that drive me nuts is when it's a complaint for no reason, or it's like, oh, the camera guy really did his job. And it's like, bro, shut up. Those are my sisters. I love them. Shut up. Like, I just don't come to Warrior with your pervy BS. That's all I got to say. Anyways, moving on. I don't want to waste any time. The thing that I tend to do is I will frankly ignore somebody if they're just off the wall, out of pocket, doesn't make any sense. If it's like here's a good example. Trev versus Sky. A lot of people don't like intergender stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. I get it. I think there's intergender done well, which I think Sky and them and Trevor did. And then there's intergender done really weird, where yes, there's an unrealistic point where the 300-pound man is not manhandling the 150-pound woman. I get it. I'm 145 pounds. Juice, you probably got 50, 60 pounds of me, no offense. But in a street fight, I got to bite and claw and teeth and nail. You know what I mean? I was trying to be nice to him. Anyways, but like, so we get it, right? There's a dynamic of body size and all that. But if that is a part of the story being told in the ring, then it's just like, I caveat a lot. Try to keep up with me. Sorry. I don't like death matches. Yeah, more controversy. I don't like death matches. But
Sreten doesn't either.
There are death matches that are done well, and then there's light tubes for the sake of a light tube. You can do psychology and make those the high spots and make them matter. Yes. And so all I'm saying is, if it's not your bag, then it's not your bag. WWE main event fucking wrestling is not my thing. I'm sorry, but the Bloodline storyline lacked a lot of things and is not really good. It's not as good as everybody's saying it is. It's just better than what they've been feeding us for like 10 years. So we think it's better. It's not. It's not Shakespeare, guys.
It's the best thing they've done in a while.
I'll give it to them.
You know what I mean?
And nothing
but they shit the bed on it.
Nothing against the people. Like, dude, there's 400 writers getting paid $200,000 a year. Come on, guys. They're doing what they're told. It's not the talent. And that's fine. And I'm not saying Warrior's perfect. Some people hate Frank the Clown, like literally don't like him. I'm like, yeah, but I will put Frank the Clown the last 3 years at Warrior telling stories up against any storyline in wrestling ever. And I know what I just said.
Yeah, I mean, motherfucker dropped down the helicopter on a football field. Suck my
Exactly.
dick.
It's not even that. It's
It is.
Casey and Frank in the ring after annoyingly being best friends and always cheating. And then finally Frank's ego's getting bigger where he's outshining the master, and Casey had to put him in his place.
Yep.
And that, to me, over 3 years' time, is just crazy to think about. And so, I don't know. I love what we do, and maybe I'm just blinded and biased and all that stuff, and that might be true. But the point of all of that, the death matches, the intergender stuff, an example from Warrior, is just to say some wrestling is for you as a fan, and other styles of wrestling are not. If you don't get the psychology of Lucha Libre, don't watch Lucha Libre. But I'm telling you right now, Gringo Loco is insanely talented.
Agreed.
And you're
One of the
missing
best right now.
So that's all I'm saying. Like,
Shout out to
cool.
Two Heels, man. They always say wrestling's
Yeah,
a
I love
buffet.
them.
And guess what? You know what I do at a motherfucking buffet when there's shit I don't like? I just walk right past it.
Exactly.
But I
That's what
sit
I'm
there and
saying.
say, oh, these fucking Brussels sprouts, which I like them. I'll just use that as
No,
an
you
example.
don't. Dude, nobody likes Brussels
You're fucking
sprouts.
right in front of me. You know, I'm going to sit here and just fucking dog you and trash you because I
Put them
don't
with my
like you.
cheeks. Yeah.
But there's a pile of bacon laying right next to you. And, oh, man, I love me some bacon.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to spend my next 20 minutes sitting here fucking demoralizing this fucking beautiful plate of Brussels sprouts because that's
because they were in my way.
yeah.
And I saw
No, that's been our philosophy since we started that show. And sometimes it's tougher than other times to like ignore that reflex inside you to be like, oh, I gotta address this when it doesn't matter. That's one of the beautiful things about all the shit out there with wrestling. Like, it's no secret. Like, I believe like half of the stuff you just said, let's say 80% of the shit you said, I believe also. Like, what I don't like in wrestling. You want to hear me talk? Will you ever hear me like, Wallace is hosting a fucking 2-night deathmatch show with XPW at the end of the month. I'm going to both shows.
There you go.
I don't like deathmatch wrestling. I'm going to have a blast that night. I'm not going to go around. There's shit I don't like, right? So I'm not going to seek it out. There's other stuff I absolutely like. There's Warrior Wrestling. There's like AEW Wrestling. There's fucking Impact. There's so much shit that I can watch and I don't have to talk about it. And when somebody goes, what'd you do on Saturday? I'll say I went to a concert. I went to a wrestling show. I had like Wallace said, I had a beautiful meal. I do like fucking Brussels sprouts. I don't like bacon. That's okay. I'm not going to talk about the shit I don't like. I'm mostly going to talk about the shit I do like. That's where the weird.
Everybody can have an opinion, but there's a difference between having an opinion and then
being a
wasting your
dick.
motherfucking time because now you're afforded the opportunity to do so with the advent of the fucking internet and this goddamn zombifying cell phone that we all got in our hands, you know? Because there is so much that you don't. Okay, well, this kind of sucks or I don't like this. Guess what? Turn on fucking Fight TV. Hey, Warrior's back on there too, and Fight Plus. You know, congratulations, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah,
you could watch a million different fucking things.
That was always a good relationship for us. We had an opportunity at PWTV for a while, and then they're not here, so we decided we're just gonna go back. Steve called them back up. They were like, yeah, let's get you involved in Plus. Let's go. They're been a great partner. Like just this one show coming back with them, crazy amounts of love, like always in the DMs, like always making sure we're taken care of. So like we love Fight Plus is our home for the foreseeable future, and we're happy to be there. So for sure.
I hate to keep piping up about this stuff, and it's important because we don't really mix and mingle with certain, not for any particular reason. Everybody's fucking busy, but we know, like, I know me personally, and Wallace and Bodi agree, like the Two Heels guys, they're kind of brothers in podcasting, and they've always had a similar philosophy. I've hung out with them a bunch of times. We've hung out with them a bunch of times. We've seen them at shows, and it's always positivity since we met them. We met them at a Warrior show.
I met them.
Yeah, like we met them. They were doing what we were doing. They had a better setup at the time. I was embarrassed. And like, but ever since then, that was 4 years ago, coming up on 5 years ago. And like, they're still doing it. And you don't hear like an episode where they spend an hour talking about, honestly, who cares about Twitter? Who cares about that stuff? You're creating entertainment. And yes, it's good to have a good team around you or the right fans that could be like, hey guys, you fucked up, or hey, don't do that again. Or, that's adjusting, or you have a low turnout at a show or whatever the fuck. You adjust. That's part of having a business. That's part of fucking entertainment. I like fart jokes. Some people don't like fart jokes, And so you adjust, and like, you guys are coming up and you're about to start this new thing. So you have to set the tone, and the tone is, there's a very good chance that you could lean in on that shit where all you do is shit on the fans. All you do is shit on the Twitter assholes. And it's good to hear that and I mean, Steve and Warrior has its own tone. That tone's going to translate to a podcast. And, it's good to know that other people are doing a podcast for the positivity, not the gossip. Like, the number one thing I hate about wrestling news organizations is when they put out a some kind of article, right? They say this shit happened and it's 100% true, vetted by nobody. It's all fucking rumor. It can actually destroy the career of someone, speculation. And then when that person gets kind of fucked, and I'm not talking about, super controversial people or people that fucking deserve that stuff. But if you do some shit like that and it turns out that everything that you guys just posted wasn't true, hey, go back and do an hour and say you're sorry. Like, don't just be like, oops, we're sorry. We did get a lot of clicks. That's super shitty. Then fuck your opinion the next forever.
Yeah.
100%. And if you're a journalist, like a real one, you will say when you mess up, because that's how you keep your integrity.
You got to.
So, like, my earlier rant at the beginning of this show is not anywhere like the tone that you're going to hear on the podcast, right? This is Juice. Juice screams. He got me all excited. My testosterone built up, and I started venting, right? So, but on the Warrior podcast, it'll be a lot less profanity and a lot more, like, respectful. But we're still going to tell you what we think. But the show isn't about addressing all the things that bother us. And so, yes, the tone is going to be what is positive. And when we do want to take like what's bad about being a booker, or what bothers you about being a booker, he's going to say whatever he's going to. So here's a perfect example. We re-recorded one of the first episodes. This should be, do you want to know when we're releasing it? I told you I would tell you. And only you here in breaking news right now. If everything goes according to plan, it'll be the first Wednesday of November. So first episode will drop. It'll probably be, I'm not sure which topic we're gonna do. We'll figure it out. It might be like one of those that it might be the recap from 31, just because we got to do that, obviously.
You guys should do like the Warrior Wrestling Control Center.
something in that regard. There was an idea. Here's some more behind the scenes. I don't know if this will happen, but like, if you guys like it, then maybe. The idea is to get Eric to wear a gold sweater vest and do his best like Mr. Rogers by pitching us puns for different types of topics. So like, he had puns. I was like, yeah, we'll do best tag teams. And he had some wrestling pun about tag teams. And then he came up with another wrestling pun about women's wrestling and like all this stuff. And I was like, you know what we should do to intro every episode? It's just you as Uncle Eric and your like gold sweater vest, putting on your shoes and be like, all right, kids, hey neighbor, we're gonna whatever. Anyway, it's probably a bad idea, but we're gonna just do weird stuff and see what happens. The one thing I'm really excited about the podcast is that, yeah, Steve and I will be the core. But I want to make sure that it's not just us, that people, like I already said, like Bale, like Rich, like Eric, like Tiffany, like
everybody who contributes,
Tom, like any of the team members. And just because I didn't name them doesn't mean they're not important. I just named who I named. Somebody's always going to be like, oh, you didn't say my name on the thing. Anyways, I love all of you. You know who you are. But the idea is like, let's have like Vale and Joe just call the whole show. Well, what was Vale and Joe thinking when they called Santana versus Keith? And let's run some clips from the match and let's have them break it down. But then the next episode might be Henry venting and saying controversial things about CM Punk not being good at anything. So I don't know, dude.
I hope so.
I hope so. I'm just going to keep... What's funny about the CM Punk thing is that, like, I love Frank the Clown as a human and as a character. He knows that. And that's his guy.
Yeah.
And I have literally said, Frank, I'm going to say this publicly, and I probably shouldn't. But anyways, because it's going to come back to haunt me when it doesn't happen. Juice is going to be like, you never got that hug, bitch. But I told him that when he finally gets signed by a big company, I'm buying a front row ticket, and I'm going to be front row Hank. And I want my goddamn Frank the Clown hug. Because that was a great moment for him with Punk, and I want to relive it. I do not want Joey Janela punching me. I don't want that to happen. But like, I want to get guys like that on the show because guys like him, guys like Casey, Brian Cage, any of these like warrior guys that have helped to build our brand to what it is today. Trey Bell, like any of those guys. I mean, there's a million people. Kylie Ray would be great. Like people like that like we owe a lot to.
She just had a baby. Congrats.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like when she's done, you know what I mean? There's no rush. We'll be here a while. But yeah, dude, I'm excited. I know I'm ranting about a lot of stupid shit, but like,
well, no, it's cool to know what to expect from you guys, which is expect the unexpected, but it's not necessarily. I mean, just variety from what I'm hearing. Yeah, and you guys have the ease of access. I mean, you guys could do some really cool shit with all the talent you've had. You know, we've had one of the reasons I love Steve and Eric and your guys' whole crew. You guys fucking always allowed us to kick it and let me mingle with dudes and just hang out. And dude, a laundry list of guests, and you just named quite a few of them that have been on the show, and they're really super cool people. You know, we get to hang with them and just talk shit. Like, even if it's not fucking wrestling, like, what the hell are you into? You know, to like just figure people out. This is a cool avenue to, you know, for people to get a little more personal with you guys. You know, like talk all the shit you want on the internet, but like the Warrior team's fucking top notch, dude. Like it takes, and it's a lot of fucking work, dude. You know, just even the stress I've put in and trying to do barely what I'm doing with like the XPW gig. I wouldn't want the Warrior headache of organizing all that. You know, that's a lot of shit. It's like, but dude,
I don't think people have any real idea when you're at home and you're armchair booking, you have really no idea. You don't know what it's like to be an indie promoter who has to share talent with every other good indie promotion. Like,
or when someone gets hurt, it's your fault, right? It's Warrior's fault that the motherfuckers forgot that once upon a time it said cards subject to change.
I mean, we say it every time. People don't believe that as reality, but like, we can't do anything. We love Eddie Kingston. Okay, we love him. Love the guy to death. He ever wants to come back, like, dude, in a heartbeat. But brother has to take care of his house. So, okay, you're out. All right. What's next? Well, who do we have relationships with? Steve said this on another podcast, but like literally a few of us are having a conversation about, well, what some guys you guys think would be able to fill that role and still be a good match. And maybe, you know, like where people don't feel slighted, you know what I mean? Like, because we try to deliver equal or better on the booking if somebody can't make it, or two guys, you know, for the price of one or whatever. And one of us was just like Santana. And then Steve was like, hold on. And he texted him. Within a half an hour, we had approvals. Everybody was good. And Santana was on the show. And to be honest with you, Keith Santana, great goddamn match. Like, I love that match to death. Like, that was my type of wrestling match. I loved it. It was great. And shout out to Santana for coming in last minute. Came in totally good guy, friendly to everybody, easy to work with, 100% vet. professional, love them. Like, love them. I told Steve, I was like, let's just create a fourth belt and just strap them. You know, fuck it. Santana's the new tag team champs. Everybody wants the tag belts. Let's just put it on Santana. You know,
that's interesting though. You see, I mean, I think there's going to be
on the internet's going to quote me. They're bringing tag belts.
Of course,
right?
Out of context.
I like that. You know, hey man, here's a perfect example, and it leads back to your CM Punk being a fucking D-bagger.
Bit better.
Dude, they fucking put differences aside, him and Ortiz, and it looks like they're about to do a fucking program in AEW, which has a lot of believability in it. You know, like
I like to see it.
It's super cool. It's interesting, but that's what happens. You can make money when you put bullshit aside.
True.
I hope Juice, me and you are good. We're friends. We're guys. We've never had any type of heat. I personally can be a petty fucking bitch. So them being forgiving and being able to work with each other, they earned a lot more respect from me, because I would be the type where like maybe I go a little hard on the promo. You know what I mean? Like,
got to.
Your dad's dead. You had a father once, and he's dead.
Yeah, I never heard of him.
Dead kid.
Where's your mom?
Cage talking about everybody's dead family,
dude.
He's a national
We have a Handsome
treasure.
Prick song called "Dead Dad Trading Cards." I wish he would fucking come out to that. Tony, somehow, some way you hear this shit. Prick will take that
I'm
money.
sure it'll. Yeah, but you guys will give them a better price than like, you know, We Will Rock You or whatever.
Oh yeah, dude, like $10, you can have it.
$10.
Some a t-shirt.
Just put the Juice Podcast logo up in the bottom.
Exactly.
Fine.
And give me a slice of the pizza and we'll call it even.
Throw me on your fucking podcasting network, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious to know too. So you guys are venturing in the podcasting land. What podcast are you listening to? And I mean, it doesn't have to just be wrestling. I mean, obviously, I want to know, like, you being a Chicago kid, I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of guys we are. But yeah, what's some of your favorite shit in podcasting, man?
So, because this is pro wrestling, I live the gimmick, right? It's not really a gimmick, but whatever. I said what I said. A couple of ones that are outside of wrestling, then I'll tell you my favorite wrestling ones. The Juice Wrestling Podcast is my favorite wrestling podcast. You can quote that. But outside of wrestling, I'm really into like esoteric religious stuff, and some people call it magic, some people call it whatever they want. But like, there's a podcast / YouTube channel called Exoterica, where a guy just goes in depth about manuscripts from like early Christianity and why stuff that's around now isn't necessarily what it was, and that kind of stuff blows my mind. Or if they're talking about, this is the literal grimoire that people conjure demons with, like, I'm into it. I don't know. I like walks in graveyards. Some people like the beach. I'm weird. And Juice, you know that because you're on my Facebook and you see at least once a week, I'm like, here's a gravestone picture.
I appreciate it.
So there's that. I like Joe Rogan's podcast just because I love the long form nature of it. I love Joe's really curious and he's really nice with his guests. He doesn't argue with them anymore. He's learned to play devil's advocate in a way that's assertive, but he's not being a dick, but he's also not gonna, if he doesn't think like you, he's gonna challenge your thinking like devil's advocate, but then frame it in a question to how to ask for clarification. So are you saying you don't think this way or whatever? Like, he's not trying to get a soundbite. He doesn't care about the numbers. I mean, at his stage, why would you care?
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know what I mean? So I really like his podcast. I like, there's another one called Kill Tony, which Tony does with stand-up comedians, because another love of mine is just stand-up comedy. I've never done it. I feel like I could because people laugh when I talk sometimes, but I feel like if I got on a stage, I would just have to roast everybody because like I wouldn't want to actually be transparent to be funny, and you have to really put yourself out there, and
Yeah.
I don't know, anxiety. So yeah. But as for wrestling, I mean, I think I'm just like, I really like ad-free show stuff. Like, I love Tony Schiavone's podcast. Like, he was the grandpa in wrestling I never thought I needed.
Tony rules. Hey, congrats to him too. You're throwing. See, we'll sprinkle a little bit of news in here too for you, fucking kids. He's the recipient of the Gordon Soley Award this year for it's like a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, like a the legit, the real one for the real cats, not the
No, that's awesome. Good for him. I mean, he deserves it, dude. Like, everybody says voice of my childhood when it like guys our age because of the Attitude Era with him and with JR. And yeah,
it was even before that too. Like I was like late 80s, early 90s. Like I remember Tony Schiavone, like, come on. Think of how much shit he's done in the wrestling business. It's insane.
One of my favorite things about AEW comedy and AEW period is how I said it from the beginning when they first started bringing Tony out. I was like, you know what they need to do with him? He's their mean gene.
Yes.
It between him and Renee, which is great because Renee's great. And I like it when she's snarky and all that good stuff and gives it back to him. I don't know what happened with behind the scenes interviewers always cowering and always. I don't like that. Mean Gene used to look at him and be like, "Yeah, go ahead, I dare you."
A little old man. Remember the WCW promos he cut like towards the end? He was just like, "Hey, you prick."
But Tony's doing that on commentary.
Yes.
Even sometimes where he'll like throw a one-liner out the Taz or whatever, like pops me every time, dude. And like, those are the instances in today's wrestling where I think breaking the fourth wall has become kayfabe. Me and Steve have an episode about this where we have a philosophy about kayfabe now where it's almost like reality or this new reality. Reality is what you make it online and how you present it. The promos have stopped being in the backstage area and are now at the guy's favorite bar or at the guy's on the street, or it's in some luxury apartment. And I actually think that when done well, because it's done shitty sometimes, but when done well, you know who I think does an awesome job is Impact. I think they're killing it right now.
Yes, dude, yes. I mean, you're a video guy. You know all that shit. All that shot to another homie, PCO, man. That motherfucker, they've done some really cool. That motherfucker got it on fire.
Who's forgive me, I don't watch it religiously, but Impact as a guy who's doing like darker shit.
Crazy Steve?
Maybe that's who it was. I saw something and I know the guy who shot it, like the production. I was like, this is art, dude. This is art, bro. Like
Darby does good shit too, man. Darby's fucking
dude,
and that's so cool. They let him utilize, that's like his filmmaking talents and shit and whatever. He did that shit. It was cool to see Adam Copeland talk about in that press conference. I was like, went to Darby, to like the dingiest, nastiest towns around here, and we filmed some shit to whenever, and like it was cool, like guerrilla fucking shit, dude.
Right on.
I really respect Darby. Like the cinematic match with Sting.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So it's as close to an action movie. So there's been 3 perfect examples of cinematic, but the presentation was different. So you had a Batman movie, which was Darby Allin Sting.
Yeah.
And then you had an action movie, which was Undertaker, was it AJ Styles?
Yeah, that was good.
And then the like original Godfather of it all with Impact and
the Broken
Party.
Yeah.
But that was like weird reality comedy sitcom presentation. It wasn't saying all that to say I like cinematic wrestling.
Lucha Underground to me essentially was cinematic. That's what kicked off. Lucha Underground is the fucking genesis of all that. Not COVID. Lucha Underground was doing before we all got sick.
they proved that you can make a universe like a superheroes universe.
Yeah.
And it be realistic enough to where you can still do it. And it was great. I loved how everything was dirty. It was like the set. I was like, no, more dust. Like, it was great. It was, dude, they
perfected that formula.
Sticks out to us because we got like 3 seasons, whatever it was. It was short. It was sweet. It was everything it was supposed to be, and we loved it. So that being said, this new kayfabe is reality. We've tried to lean into it in Warrior more and more with the edits that I've been doing, where we call it the extended, where when you get it on Fight, you're going to get the live sports presentation that you know and love from Warrior. But then I got guys like Unicorns, JPEG Josh photos on Twitter, and like Tussle when he's around, me, where we'll record behind the scenes, or we'll like, so the way I describe it is, if the ring is the core of the action and the storytelling, what's the next ring outside of that? Like WWE 24 or 365 or some of those shows where they spread the context of the kayfabe to backstage, in the tunnel, maybe guerrilla, maybe, and then in the car in the airport. You're not in their house. You're not eating dinner with them. They're not playing with their kids. That we're not pulling back the curtain that much. We're not showing the guys in the back going over their match. That's not what I'm talking about. Wrestlers did that. We'll talk about wrestlers in a minute because I actually have a really strong opinion about wrestlers. But they did a good job of letting you see some of it, but not telling you everything, where it's like
they presented it how wrestling in that way, like you're saying, the new reality, the new kayfabe, because of social media. So, that is it. And I've gotten, dude, we've talked about it last year. There was some shit with Matt Cardona on his social media. Look how he's been able to build himself and build programs with people. Like, and it's more fuel for the story. We should be up in arms and joy that like it's here, because, you know, as people who put shit together, it's a great avenue to help tell that story in the palm of your own hands. You could be as creative as you want to, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So let me land the plane on that one, and then I'll talk about wrestlers. This new reality is the new kayfabe thing. I think over time, Warrior's presentation on Fight will always be what it is.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Over time, we're going to lean into that auxiliary content more and more, where we're starting to play with that stuff. Like the Casey documentary is a perfect example. It's an hour long. It's what, like, if Henry had free reign with that, working with Casey and Warrior, and it was like, if I could do anything for a kayfabe documentary, what would I want to do? And it was that. And I brought up all those cinematic matches because this is something that I saw what I was trying to do. I saw wrestlers do, and I was like, oh, now I know what the bar is. I know what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And it was like they would build each episode with a storyline of a character to a match. The match was the crescendo. And then the match went full cinematic. They had cinematic presentation, but it was also cinematic music building to the hope spot. The music would get happier. When the heel came in, the music would get like a little bit more grungier, a little bit more dangerous. They put impact noises on the kicks and the punches and the things, but they did it where it wasn't pow, bang, boom. It wasn't
Adam West.
Where like I heard it and maybe some other fans heard it. But if you're just watching it to watch a TV show, it flew under the radar, all these things they were doing. So there's that. Here's my thing with what Warriors is, or wrestlers is. I'm going to keep calling it Warriors because my brain's that way. That TV show is and I know what I'm saying. This isn't hyperbole. In my brain, this is really what I think it is. I think it's the biggest work in the history of works. And I think that is the biggest piece of content marketing that OVW could have done. It's genius. They had a scene in an episode, because it's a documentary, you get away with this, where there's some fan with his kid, and it's just a dad in the age bracket saying how he loves bringing his kid to the show, and he's going to pass it down generationally, and like it inspires his kid to be all he can be, and he loves doing it. Cut to live show. Oh, look, 2 minutes later, there's same dad in the front row, kid's losing his mind at the show. It's marketing. And I was like, that's wrestling, kids. That's the business. That's the biggest work in the history of works, because it's over. Everybody's watching it. Now, I haven't heard anything.
Selling out, yeah.
But when I say reality is the new kayfabe, that's what I'm talking about. Where it's done so well, and I'm not saying there wasn't truth in it. You got to have some truth in it. It's like a good heel promo.
Yeah.
There's got to be some truth in it. Otherwise, it doesn't sting, right? It's the same thing. And because I'm like trying to get somewhere with our own product, seeing that, I was like, dude, I was all up in Steve and Eric's like brain for like 3 days. I'm like, you guys got to watch it. Episode 4, scene 5. Like, I was like, guys, you got to like look at this timestamp. Like, this is genius. And so, yeah, anyways, whoever was involved in the production of that thing for Netflix, I'm sure there was 200 people. They killed it. And I don't even know I'm sure they think they made something cool, but I don't think they, as a guy in the business making content for indie wrestling promotion who's trying to get somewhere, I think they're getting exposure, but I don't think as a quality of a TV show and what it means for that promotion, I don't think they're getting their due. I don't. I think that everybody's watching it because it's another auxiliary wrestling show that we can enjoy about the thing we like. And Al Snow's there, head. We all loved him. I get it. But if you really want to be a smart mark, take a step back and think about how they were able to get you while you were watching it. That's the power of pro wrestling. You can do it live, and you can do it with the TV show.
Yes.
And so, anyways, rant over. But this is when producer guy comes on like, I hate wrestlers. Like,
yeah. Hey, wrestlers to me, wrestlers is to wrestling of like what Hard Knocks is to the NFL. That's what I thought of it was. Or
F1 or whatever that will Formula 1 to that. That's what it should be. It's show, and that's why we're kind of leaning with these extended cuts and some of the auxiliary stuff with Warrior is it's not, the match isn't the event is the event. And how do we broaden the story? What was Trevor really thinking before he went into this match with Sky?
I thought you were going to say before he shaved his beard, but
right. Why?
That's good as well.
Beard? Do you know what he said to me? I don't think he'll care that I repeat this. In straight Trevor fashion, he went, fucking 30,000 people love that video. I don't care. I'll shave my face any day of the week. And I was like, that's right, dude. That's right. Because it was such a staple of his character, like his presentation and it came out of nowhere. I was like, well, I'm definitely tweeting beardless Trevor Outlaw. That's his name now. Like, it's like, yeah. And people were talking about it. They're like, what the hell did you do? I'm like, I don't know. I think we all knew he was kind of good looking too. And then he shaved it off. And I was like, oh, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, bro, like,
grow it back.
Save some for the rest of us, dude. Jesus. Anyway,
grow it back so we could have a chance.
Like, I was like, you have pale lipstick on right now? No, those are just your glorious lips. Now he's really good.
There it is.
Anyway.
So what are you guys looking to do like going forward now? I mean, like I said, back on Fight, fresh off the heels of South Bend, back at the Bendix Arena, which is a super cool place to be. So if you guys, anybody listening, watching right now, if you get a chance, you guys, Warrior runs there again, man, it gave me old like WCW in the studio in Florida like vibes, you know, like Saturday night or something. It's a pretty fucking cool place.
Yeah, I mean, it was a smaller show than normal. So yes, that vibe is good.
Let me ask you this though, too. I gotta cut you off, Henry, because I have to ask this pressing question because you brought that up. Smaller shows, and it's everywhere, dude. It's everywhere. AEW's having it. I've heard people. I'm not gonna say names, but like they tell me regularly that like, oh, you know, AEW killed the indies, like blah blah blah. Like that's why, you know, all these certain, you know, indie promotions can't get the names or whatever anymore. And to an extent, a very small extent, I can get that. I mean, that's called business, you know, like the Eddie Kingston thing. I knew as soon as he won on AEW, it ain't gonna fucking happen with you guys. You know, that's just. But to be able to have that person in general is a great opportunity to bring them. You know, like I just want to know what you guys think or your mentality is. Like, do you think like the big feds and kind of killed the indies, or I think that's kind of a fucking weird thing for someone to say, but I've heard it a lot.
Yeah, no, and I've definitely heard it, and I have friends that are wrestling fans that have said the same thing. So let me caveat, this is the one caveat I've been ranting and sharing my opinion frankly, but
I think it's just the fans, man. It's the people.
I don't think so. I don't know what Steve or Eric's position on this would be from a Warrior point of view. I can tell you from my vantage point, working for an indie promotion and doing the social media, I think there's many dynamics at play. I don't think it's just one thing.
Right.
Do I think NXT and AEW being around and by the nature of them doing scoops of the top indie talent has taken away from some availability on the indies? Sure, that's logical. Do I think they're gutting the indies and there's no talent left? And no. And also, AEW, half our show was AEW TV people, guys. We have a relationship with them. They'll come in. Name a big company. Mythic Kate from NWA was on our show. She's coming back. We teased a match with her and the world champ. All right. Like it was new champ Sky. I don't want to say world champ. Casey might. Anyway, I might get a text later. The Warrior Women's Champion Sky. And just so everybody knows, that was real. Athena was fine with it, guys. The internet wanted us to get the belt off of Athena. We got the belt off of Athena. Jesus. Like now everybody's like, was it real? What's going on? And it's like, how did you want us to tell a story, or you just want us
they forgot for 1 second that it's wrestling.
Yeah, Sky earned that belt. That was this is my opinion again, not like Warrior's opinion. I don't know.
Well, hey, maybe we'll do a fancy little intro. The views and opinions in this episode are strictly not a Warrior Wrestling.
Do not represent. The people who pay Henry did not tell him to say this. But no, like, I think Sky's earned that spot. She's been consistent with Warrior. She always delivers. The fans love her. Why not? Like, who else, in my opinion, what other woman on the Warrior roster right now that's been coming in and out of shows that's available, that isn't hurt, that we could strap? So that way we could, because that's, you asked what's coming. I
think you should bring Tessa back.
I know, and I think that it's necessary that we start making a bigger deal again about our women's division. And everybody in Warrior feels the same way. We love women's wrestling. That's never been not a thing. It's weird that people think it's a thing, but it is what it is. So we're just going to start delivering some bangers. One that we've already teased, when it happens, it misses Sky. I mean, it's obvious we're going to go there eventually. just strap in, guys. We got some ideas. I'm not going to ruin it because it shouldn't be ruined. Another place that I know we want to go is this thing with Frank and having his day. Maybe Casey is a surrogate for Warrior saying we're actually sick of the clown a little bit. I don't know, guys. If the world champ's sick of it and he has a new theme song, guys, he's a face now. Okay, anyway. Let's see where that goes. Because Casey's whole run as champ has been as a heel and not as the babyface Casey that everybody loves. Because that's really what the vibe is with Casey. The fans just love Casey. The girls scream their heads off for Casey. I kind of question my sexuality sometimes when it comes to Casey. Please cut that. I don't care. I'm accepting of all types. I don't care. So I think this is an opportunity for, there are people the last couple of years that were mid-card back in the day and are now the champions of Warrior Wrestling. And they're legit. Casey just blew up UK on Progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sky. Gringo's gringo. Let's see what this next crop from Chicago is going to show us against the guys that have built Warrior and have built Chicago wrestling. So,
yeah. Dude, for sure. I mean, you guys have had a lot of people that have come through that it's good that, like, I think people just get butthurt when, you know, wrestlers that were able to come around and be booked for so long, then they end up on TV for a reason, right? Like, we all should hope that they should be there. Like, it's cool to have memories of, like, man, I kicked it with Brian Pillman Jr.
You gonna do sex to me?
Did you like that video? If so, be sure to hit like and subscribe and check out more killer content from your boys at Juice Pro Wrestling. Whoa, yeah!